Sound okay? Okay, ready? Hi everyone. So I had put out an AMA a couple of days ago and I have received a bunch of questions from you all. Firstly, it was amazing to see that so many people are out there following my story and learning the lessons from me. But what's also great is that we now finally have an opportunity to answer your questions. So here I am going to try to answer as many questions as possible. Let's begin. The first one I have is from Malena asking, how are you doing, Jay? Hi Malena, I'm doing great, but to be honest, I was born awesome. And that's the mindset that I've always had. The next one I have is from Briar. Champ, I would love to learn more about the systems and process you have in place to scale and oversee all of your ventures, and how you decide what new ventures you enter into considering your varied portfolio. And then I had Joe say, I second that. So let me break it down. You are a champ, Briar, and if you want to learn about systems and processes that I have in place to scale, it's a simple roadmap. The way I approach any and every business is at first, I go and look at the product itself. What is it that you're offering? Is it solving real life problems? The next thing that I focus on is people. For any and every business that I launch, it's important to understand that we need people to scale up. Otherwise, all we have done is just bought ourselves a fancy job. So, when you have the right people in place and you have the right product in place, the next step is you get those people who hopefully are way smarter than you are to draw up that processes. So these people put the process together, you go in, bring in your expertise, review those processes, make sure that they are always aligned. And you know what? You will never have a perfect process because the landscape will always keep changing. So the next thing you got to do is make sure that you have systems in place to keep a track of that process and keep redefining those processes, because the business needs, customer needs will always keep evolving. The next thing you asked is, how do you decide what new ventures you enter into considering your portfolio? Now, in regards to that, I would say in the beginning, it was about looking for the best ROI, return on investment. Where can I have my money making the most money? But eventually, it boiled down to creating a legacy. And now I focus on building a portfolio that truly caters towards building that ecosystem for entrepreneurship. I still have my investments happening in various industries and sectors, but what I love building is anything and everything that can be offered as a service to the future entrepreneurs of this world. I have Sonakshi asking me, curious, when you were building out your portfolio, how did you decide whether to double down on one high potential venture or diversify? I'm at the head's scratching point where focus feels essential, but opportunity keeps knocking. A good friend, Eminem, said opportunity comes once in a lifetime, and you keep saying it keeps knocking. Is it the same opportunity or varied opportunities? Because you must be truly lucky to be able to see these opportunities is what others would tell you. So what I would tell you is that you're too intelligent to miss out on these opportunities. It's not important that you get every business at 100%. What's important that you get every business up and running and expedite that process to at least get it to that 70 and an 80% mark. There is nothing in this world that you will truly find perfection in. We were not created to be perfect, and neither are our businesses created for perfection. But however, what we need to focus on is to keep growing, to keep scaling, and in order to do that, go chase those opportunities. Do not get fixated on being perfect with one thing. I have Shaurya here saying, finally, someone talking about the real behind the scenes. Let's go. Thank you, Shaurya. I agree with you. It's important to have the right motivation out there, but what's even more important is to have the know-how and what to do next. And here I am trying to answer all of your questions, hopefully helping you along the way. I have Mark Anthony saying, I must say, how do you find the time for it all? Now that's a great question. I have been asked this question many a times and by many of you at this point as well. Now, to be honest, I have the same 24 hours in a day that you all have. What I do different is, number one, I try to create time by probably starting my day early. So I do wake up at 4 a.m. every morning. I basically try to get my workout done, catch up with my emails, spend some time with the kids and the family, all done before the rest of the world even wakes up. So yes, I am ahead of the curve from that perspective. Now, when it comes to time, the only way to find time is to multitask. What I mean by that is, think of a hobby that you do for pleasure and for winding down. Try to do that hobby while doing something else at the same time. So if you're able to mix 2 to 3 things at the same time, you will be able to create more time for you from that perspective. However, what's also important is that you're able to prioritize. In life, you'll be pushed and pulled in many different directions, and that's where your energy will get drained. And that's why probably people feel that they do not have time. It's important that you take control of your actions and your choices. Once you start doing that, you will find as much time as you want. Afreen asks me, how did you make the move from being in a job to being an entrepreneur? Can you guide us on how we can do the same? To be honest, Afreen, there is no clear answer to your question. However, what I can tell you is that there is not just one answer to your question. There are many ways to start becoming an entrepreneur. But what's the most important thing is that you got to start. It's not important that you do step 1, step 2, step 3. There aren't necessarily any such specific, clear, guided steps for something like this. What you will have to do is figure out your own journey. Each and every one of us lived a different life. Each and every one of us has a different skill set out there and experiences out there. What we have to do is take all of that into account, learn the lessons from everything that we have been through in our lives, and take the next steps. My life journey taught me that the worst thing I could do was not take an action. So I started taking action. I took control of my actions, and that's why I started becoming an entrepreneur. And then I became one. I wouldn't have been one had I not started. So what's the move? The first move from being in a job, I would say, is quit. Hamid Hussain says, Jigar Sagar, your journey from Sharjah Gold Souk to leading 30 plus companies is inspiring. Thank you, Hamid. He asks, in your experience, what personal discipline or mindset shift made the biggest difference when transitioning from survival mode to sustainable success? I think, Hamid, there's a flaw in the question from some perspective, because I was never in a survival mode. Being an entrepreneur was the best thing that I could have done for myself. When you are an entrepreneur, you will realize that all those hardships, all those challenges will seem like fun and a bliss, because each and every one of them leave a learning lesson for you. So at no point in my life have I felt like I'm surviving. At every point in my life, I have felt that I am in control and I am in this situation because I wanted to be in this situation. When you talk about sustainable success, I'm assuming you're referring to financial freedom, financial success. The truth is, it's not important whether you win or you lose at the first business you do or the second business you do. In the beginning, it's all about learning the right lessons. And success effectively will come because if you have a great product which solves true problems and you have the right people and the process and the systems in place, there's nothing stopping you from success, my friend. How do you maintain it across ventures without losing your authenticity? Stop faking it. If you are authentic at all times, if you continue to be who you are at all times, you won't need to worry about losing it. There's a saying that money spoils. My version is money amplifies. My success has simply amplified my personality, what I believe in, what my values are, and what my principles are. I have Wasim Akram asking, If you're launching a SaaS product in a crowded space, but with one standout feature, how do you assess the risk? Well, Wasim, I guess in something like this, the risk is effectively how soon can the market catch up. So you need to figure out that what was the IP that you created, what were the trademarks and the patents that you registered in regards to creating that product. If you have none, then yes, the risk is very high, to be honest. What should you look at to know if it's worth betting on? Nothing is worth betting on. Anytime you feel like you're betting, it's only because you haven't had enough data to back your decisions. So stop betting and start spending your time analyzing the data so that you can make informed decisions. He further asks, how do you decide whether to raise funding or continue building with your own resources in the beginning? The honest answer is, it depends on a case to case. There are many instances where you're going to bootstrap, at some places you're going to raise funds, and in some cases you're probably even just going to invest in a third company because you probably don't have the know-how. Now, taking that into account, I think the true answer boils down to what maximizes your return on investment and time. As a serial entrepreneur, I'm fully aware that my rarest commodity is time, not money. So I'm very mindful that I will take the approach that will save me time rather than save me money. Now, in terms of return on investment, that's a financial decision. You probably have a financial analyst or a CFO or a finance manager who can help you identify what approach is going to maximize your IRR, what approach is actually going to help you take the product to the market to begin with. But ultimately, my feeling on this point or my experience on this point has always been about maximizing the return on my time and my investment, not just one. I have a question from Stella. Love this approach. Could you guide us on the key areas where startups should ensure compliance with UAE laws, and what are the essential roles they should consider during the early stages of entrepreneurship? Stella, as a business, you have to ensure compliance with all laws. It can't be limited just to labor laws or commercial laws, anti-money laundering laws, real estate laws. It all boils down to the business you're in. So as an entrepreneur, once you've identified what problem you're solving, the next thing you're going to do is figure out how are you going to solve that problem. And in that journey, you're going to come across a workflow, a process, and thereby the next step would be to understand what laws even apply to your workflow, to your business. And to be honest, every law needs to be complied with. There isn't just one law that you can break as a part of your business. And in terms of the essential roles you should consider in the early stages of entrepreneurship, I would say the first role you have to identify is the CEO position, or the person who's going to be responsible for leading that business, because it's very easy and tempting to do it yourself. But if you do that, you have just bought yourself a job and you're not truly an entrepreneur. So the first role you should consider is bringing the head to the table. So I have a question here from Sharik Fazil. I hope I got your name right. What's the most promising category in AI which can be implemented in Dubai? Now, as you're all aware, Dubai is big on AI. You have access to ample resources, ample support, ample talent. However, there's this big question, what do I do next? And that's a perfect question to address that. So in Dubai, yes, we are big on edtech, we are big on fintech, we are big on healthcare sector where AI can be implemented. However, I do not believe that picking a sector to implement AI is the right approach. I believe that AI is simply a tool. It's like what your email means to you nowadays. It's what your phone means to you nowadays. It's a tool. It's meant to make your life easier. It's going to apply to any and every business sector and your personal life. What's going to matter is that you first understand the workflow that your business requires and see from that perspective where can you bring in efficiencies by using certain AI tools. The next question I have is by a corporate account called bespoke merchandise. How do I expand the team from 1 to 3 or 5, and how to scale the business? I think you have the answer right there. In order to scale the business, the first thing you got to do is expand the team from 1 to 3 or 5 and then keep going, because it's those people, obviously it depends on the nature of the business, but it's those people that's going to help you scale the business as well. You're not going to be able to scale the business by retaining control. What you will have to do is delegate. You will have to have the right people working for you. So, in regards to how do I expand my team, go hire smart people. Go hire people that you feel dumb in front of, that you feel that you want to sit in front of them and just hear them out and learn from them. Because when you bring in such people into your organization, that's when you can truly start scaling. Secondly, whether it's funding, whether it's the right systems, technology, processes, ultimately each and every business will have its own requirement. What you will have to do is figure out what's next. It's usually not one or the other. It's going to be all of the above, and start working in parallel. Start putting your pitch deck together so that you can raise the right funds. Start putting the right processes and documenting them so that you can actually scale the workflow of your business itself, and make sure you leverage on systems, because systems will allow you to scale faster. I have a question from Tushar here. Do you perform detailed background checks on the people, companies you invest in? Well, absolutely. When you talk about background checks, we are talking about one, the technical background check. Second, we are talking about the cultural background check. When you're hiring people, what most people fail to do is figure out how to do a background check on the cultural element. They keep their focus on the technical element. What you have to be mindful about, that this is not necessarily some sort of a security background check, because you have enough third-party organizations that can do that for you, whether be it your police clearances or immigration clearances. What's important from your business perspective is that you check on effectively the cultural fit. The vibe check is what I would call it. I let the people who have been hired as subject matter experts to do the technical check, and I focus on the vibe check. What you want to do is you want to make sure that this individual is going to be comfortable working with the rest of the lot, and the rest of the lot is going to be comfortable working with this individual. Are they going to be able to extract the best versions of each other? That's the question you have to answer. I have a question here from Siddharth. How a person with low paying job and a paycheck to paycheck lifestyle can start a business? It's called savings. Start with saving, but convert those savings into an income stream by investment into an asset as soon as possible. So for example, if you were living paycheck to paycheck, you need to take a stock of your lifestyle, because that's where the problem lies. Either change your job or change your lifestyle, but once you create certain amount of savings, start investing those savings. Do not leave them in your bank account, because you do not need more than 3 months of expense sitting in your bank account for a rainy day. I have a question here from Marielle. I have 2 inventions. One is worthy to be in Shark Tank. Should I go for it? Absolutely. But let me ask you a question. Why Shark Tank? Is it just to raise money or to get exposure? Because if you were looking to raise money, there are many ways to raise money. There are many ways to get access to funding. If your invention is great, you will have money pouring into you. Now, if you were looking to approach Shark Tank because you wanted exposure from a marketing perspective on your business, then that's great too. But then please understand that it's not necessarily going to be sustainable by doing it just once. It could go the other way around. You could be mocked at because it's a TV show at the end of the day. So take that into account. take a stock of what you're doing, take a stock of what you have created, and if it's truly valuable, then you should have people following you and chasing you for funding. A question from Nancy. With AI and global digital economy evolving so fast, would it impact business setup? Absolutely. I hope it does. We have just seen last year in 2024 that the first AI-based trade license was issued out of Sharjah here in the UAE. So absolutely it's going to impact business setup, whether it's from a licensing perspective or whether it's about reducing costs to go to market, or it's whether making it just faster in terms of the bureaucracy by removing certain red tape. But like I said earlier, AI is just going to be a tool in this economy. It is not a business in itself, and as any other tool, if used right, it makes life faster, simpler, easier, and cheaper. I have a question here from Reena. While reducing costs in difficult times, what areas should a CEO finance target? I believe that what you have to do is put up a matrix. Look at what are your critical items that are necessities in your business and what are good to haves in your business. What costs less and what costs more. Try to clean up anything that is a good to have but not a necessity and a very high expensive item. So start with that quadrant is how I would approach it. The next quadrant to tackle is again good to have but costs less, because that may still add up and create significant savings. So all you want to do is effectively leave the costs which are necessities into the business. Another question from her is, what qualities do you look for while hiring your C-level team? I think some of the qualities that I look for are cultural fit, skill set, and above all, it's the filling of the gaps. When I go and hire a CEO first, the next thing I do, I try to understand that even after having this individual as a part of the team, what are their weak points? What are the gaps they are leaving behind? And then you go start hiring the next layer of C-level people by trying to and intending to fill those gaps. It's not necessarily about just hiring a marketing manager or a sales manager or an operations head. What's important is that once you hire one individual, you truly analyze their abilities, their strengths, and their weaknesses, because it's not about getting rid of them because of those weaknesses. What's important is if you have an opportunity to fill those weaknesses by bringing in someone else who is truly strong in that domain, in that sphere, you will build a dream team. What's important is not to have one superstar, but to have a collective team where each and everyone fulfills the right role and they play in with each other. It's more like a jigsaw puzzle where each piece needs to fit together. I have a question from Kiran. When can you expect to get profits after starting your business from scratch? I would like to say from yesterday. Well, at least that's what I wish for. However, the reality is different. Profits may not necessarily come even after starting a business from scratch. What you should be focusing on is truly expediting the speed with which you're going to the market. It's the acceleration to success or failure which is truly going to determine whether you're going to be a successful entrepreneur or not. So I have a question here from Vikas who asks, what should be the minimum efficiency a business or a department should work on? Well, Vikas, I think to begin with, you need to figure out how to map the current efficiency levels. And once you have done that, the next step is on improving it. It isn't important where you're at. What's going to be important is that you're ahead tomorrow than where you're at today. And that's what's going to matter in terms of efficiency. If you can improve efficiencies day on day, no matter how small or large those increments are, you will eventually obtain success. I have a question from Sonam. How do you know whether you need a co-founder or a highly paid resource? I think for me, it boils down to effectively understanding what's the objective of this business. Is it a business that is being launched to create value and extract that value by either listing it or selling it as soon as possible? Or do I intend for this business to be a going on concern for a long time as a part of my portfolio for other reasons? Now, if I'm truly looking for someone to drive with the same passion as I drive business with, it always makes sense to bring in a co-founder rather than an employee. And eventually, if I have people who are alongside me at those levels, who have an employee mindset, then I question it. Are they the right people? A question from Satish. A person growing in the marketing field, what areas should he focus on? Satish, that's a pretty broad question. When it comes to marketing, you could be in any field. You could be focusing on anything. But what's going to be important as an entrepreneur is that you pick a niche. Find out what are you really good at. What is your company good at? When you talk about marketing field, if you can identify that space and then play to your strengths rather than wasting your time to cover up the weaknesses, because you can always hire to cover those gaps. But for now, focus on your niche, focus on your strengths, and make the most out of those. So with that, we have come to an end today, and I hope I have answered as many questions as possible. And to be honest, I love doing this. My passion and my mission is to make entrepreneurship more accessible. It's to help those people that are already motivated, like those that asked me those questions. So please continue to comment, ask questions as a part of this journey that we are in together. And I look forward to answering many more questions in the sessions to come.